Welcome to the Four White Guys Talk About Racial Inequality podcast. Today's topic, everything is good.
Yep. Nothing needs to change. Everything is fine the way it is.
Today we're joined with two guests, as you guys have probably already seen on screen if you're watching on YouTube. We're joined by Jake of the Offensive Jake YouTube channel and John of Harshly Critical YouTube channel.
Hello, everybody.
We'll probably have links either on screen or in the description, so check those guys out.
You better, as well as sending out a paycheck.
Probably.
I'm going to have a link to Harshly Critical, not to Jake.
Well, I mean, to be fair, all my fans already know.
Ooh. That's probably true.
You should have
That's
a link, but
true.
just have it lead to a Rickroll or something.
Yeah, and here's a link to...
Didn't you
Ethan's-
actually do that to Craven?
I did. I highly recommend it.
Here's a link to Ethan's channel.
Redirects to GameWorx.
Look. Do you want to
Redirects to
hear
his
from my
private
fucking
Facebook.
union? Because you'll hear from my fucking union.
It redirects to his union.
Oh, God, to the
All right,
union
so
page.
there's a funny thing called Firewatch.
Ooh.
A funny thing indeed.
And
yeah.
I have
So
some
it's-
opinions
yes.
about this game.
Quite the comedy. Oh, I think many people do.
I don't
So
have any
let's-
opinions. This is going to
I'd
be
say
really boring.
completely opinionless podcast. I say let's start with general feelings on the game. So just kind of just an overall
It's good.
impression.
I'd say it's great. Yeah, no,
Really?
it's better than good.
I intentionally didn't ask you what you felt. I honestly thought you were going to say it sucked.
Who, me?
Yeah, no, I genuinely thought, like, from what I heard Alex explaining, it sounded like you didn't like it.
Well, yeah, that was just from, like... So, he tells me we're going to do this
Especially
podcast.
since you love Halo and shit
Oh,
like
whatever.
that.
Fuck you, bitch. Call of Duty is a masterpiece.
Oh,
No, I don't play that shit. Anyways. Well, yeah, so I was looking at all these fucking YouTube videos because I didn't play it. I watched a bunch of reviews, a bunch of spoiler videos, which didn't spoil anything. And
Totally named.
I was just angry about that, and then I called him, and then, layers of anger just builds up, right?
Oh yeah, also forewarning to everybody listening, we were going to spoil the shit out of this game.
What?
So, yeah. No, we're going to wreck this game.
Hence, it's saying spoiler discussion.
No crevice of this story will remain untouched when we're
Here's
done.
the thing. So I went
Gross.
in thinking that this game was going to be shit because I watched all these videos and everyone hated the ending and blah, blah, blah. And I thought it was great. But that could just be because everyone told me the ending was shit.
Well, okay, personally, I mean, I played through the entire game pretty much in one sitting. And
Yeah, me too.
like, the thing is about this game is that the story, in my opinion, is one of the best written that I've ever experienced in a game. Like, just pound for pound, like how concise it was for the most part. I thought the performances were fantastic.
Yeah, that was the best part.
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. I mean, who was Delilah's voice actress? I can't remember her name off. Something Sissy Jones or some shit like that.
That sounds
Yeah.
correct, yeah.
Yeah, she was Katja in The Walking Dead.
I don't
she
know,
was,
but I'm going to say yeah.
She was Chloe's mom in Life is Strange.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she did a bunch of
I
other.
didn't know that one.
She did a bunch of other things. And then Rich Sommer, who is
Mad Men.
he was in Mad Men. Yeah. So very interesting two people that they selected for the voice acting in this game. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know how I can really describe it other than saying that it's probably my favorite game up to this point so far this year. I very much enjoyed it. If you just want a general opinion, don't want to get into spoilers just right off the get-go. But
Yeah,
yeah, it's good. And a podcast.
I honestly, this is weird because I'm a huge indie game guy. That's really all I play effectively, not as like a rule, but just that's what I find myself playing the most often. And I love this kind of story. Like Gone Home's one of my favorite games ever, like story-centric games.
Sure.
And I think I might like it the least of everybody here, from what it
Ooh.
sounds like. I thought it was
Yeah, you
good,
had a lot of negative opinions about it on the phone.
but it didn't really do as much for me as it seemed to have done for a lot of other people. I don't think it was bad by any degree. I think it was very good, but I don't really think it was much more than that. And yeah, so that's
you're
my
wrong.
general that's my general opinion. opinion.
I didn't think it was possible for opinions to be incorrect.
And yet,
But YouTube has taught me
But
otherwise.
every day is a new mystery.
but the YouTube comment section has really educated me.
Yeah.
I thought
Educated.
it was a fun ride. I will say that. I probably enjoyed the first 3/4 of the game a lot more than the last 1/4.
It seems to be the general opinion.
Yeah.
See-
So I guess I just kind of fall into that general opinion area. But I'd give it like a 7 out of 10 if I were forced to give it a numeric score.
Okay.
But
I guess I would too. I would give it about that too.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can give it a numeric score. I just see it as something different.
Yeah. Now, out of curiosity, because Alex, you brought up that like you have complaints about the game. I kind of wanted to
Yeah.
get into that. Mm-hmm. So go.
Should we talk specifically about the
segue.
ending?
Do it.
Let's save that.
Okay,
Let's-
save it, yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
save the ending for
Maybe
the
we should
end,
go like
perhaps.
chronologically
Okay.
through the game.
Yeah, actually, I was about to say,
I think
yeah,
it's a good
'cause
idea.
my first big complaint, and I'll get into why I might have this opinion later, but my first big complaint is what a lot of people really seem to like about the game, which was the intro. I didn't like
like
that
it.
text-based
Why?
intro. Jake agrees with me on this. Okay, so I think that me and Jake might have the same reason that we don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
It's because we both, I watched Jake's playthrough of this.
I got a
for
press
clarity.
copy to clarify.
Yeah, so he got a press copy, and the original press copy does not have that intro.
Nope.
Because they wanted to save it. And so I had this build-up where I was kind of watching this game as, like, both, like, hey, what's happening with these two people? And also, like, whoa, what's this dude's backstory?
Ooh, okay.
You know,
Right.
like, what's going on in his life, what's going on in her life, like, kind of putting all the pieces together, which is what I liked about Gone Home, is that you just kind of walk into the situation, don't really know anything. And then the third video, and so also, I'd also like to point out that I watched it differently than you three, because Jake and John, you two played it all in one sitting. Ethan, I assume you
I
watched
watched
it
it-
all, at least mostly
I
in one
watched it
sitting.
in one sitting.
I watched it daily as Jake was releasing it. So that might also affect my opinion as
Okay.
well.
Well, now to clarify my opinions about like why I prefer the sort of introduction not to have existed.
Yeah.
Like, so going into it, when I was playing the press copy and that stuff wasn't there, it felt as though I was unfolding the story as it was happening, right? And so, and obviously this is a delusion, looking back at it after the fact, but it almost felt as though I was kind of picking the story, like the background of this character as we were going through the dialogue, which I personally thought was a really interesting idea. Now, obviously that isn't what they were going for, but I don't know, it just kind of set me up for this, like, oh, that's so cool, like, through dialogue, I can clarify as to who I am as a person and, who I was before all of this and why I decided to come out here. So in a sense, it kind of let me down a little bit, but that's more so my own personal preference. But other than that, it felt like the introduction was, in a way, just very ham-fisted in the way it was doing things. And when the rest of the writing is so well done, I felt as though they could just as easily do the stuff through dialogue, even if that's not really your preference. It does seem like it's a much more, a much more fluid and organic way of doing it.
Yeah, and also, like, my big problem with the intro, kind of along a similar vein, but not exactly the same, was that they try to use this guilt thing as, like, this big sadness punch a lot of the time, right? Where it's just like, blah, 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 XXYY, and also his wife has dementia, and like he's basically effectively kind of cheating on her with this, but is he really? Because that's the whole point. But I feel like a lot of that punch was lost because right at the beginning of the game they're like, hey, here's this sad thing, and then every time they bring it up after that, it's kind of like, yeah, I know. And it doesn't really have the same effect. Like, I just felt like if it had been like a reveal, like maybe not even a reveal, but just something that kind of slowly became like there, or wasn't like pushed in your face, where it just kind of was slowly like, oh crap, he's like flirting pretty hard with this girl, depending on how you play the game with different levels of flirting, but still like flirting pretty hard with this girl, and like I'm not sure if that's okay, and like, oh god, his wife has like dementia, like you find that out and it could be like, oh shit, but the way that it was paced, which is my other big problem with the game, is the pacing, the way it was paced with this whole like big sad dump at the beginning, it just kind of didn't really like.
It took the legs out from
affect
under
you.
it.
It really did. It didn't affect you as much when it happened again later. It was more of, and maybe this is what they were going for, but it was more of like a slow, like, oh, I guess he might be kind of a bad person, and not like kind of like a gut punch I hate to keep comparing it to Gone Home, but like the end of Gone Home is where you're just like, oh God,
Right.
oh God, I'm dying. Like, it's just kind of like this little weird, mild, slow burn of sadness. And I think that could have worked, but it was paced weird. So I don't know.
I don't know. I think they
What
wanted
if-
like the implications of the wife having dementia, like kind of in the player from the start. And you really couldn't do that any other way. You could execute it differently, but I think that's what they wanted to present. Like, they wanted to present it at the very front, you know? And kind of have that theme stretched over the entire length of the gameplay rather than as some sort of reveal.
Yeah, I don't think it necessarily has to be a reveal. I just think it's like weird to like. I just thought the pacing of it was weird. I just think that like it diluted a lot of the impact.
What were you gonna say, John?
I was just going to say, what if they had split up the intro and just had you play one part of it before each day transition?
Mm-hmm.
That'd
And
be interesting.
by the end of it,
That-
you kind of had the full reveal at the
That
same
would've-
time that you were revealing the story of the, actual game.
That would have been like amazing because yeah, you'd like slowly like look at this happy guy. That'd actually be perfect because you'd see the setup of this happy guy, then you'd see him be out here, and Delilah is kind of talking about like only reason people come out here is because they're messed up.
Right.
And so so that would force you to be in the situation of like, well, he
Why
was
is this?
happy. In
Is
the
this guy messed
flashback.
up, or is that just is
Yeah.
that bullshit? Or,
And then
you know?
it slowly gets revealed, like, oh, now he's got this wife. Next second day, it reveals he's got this wife, and like, well, but he's out here and she's not calling. Like, what's up with that? Like,
Yeah.
I think that I think with literally no extra programming, just rearranging when things happen, so like a day extra programming. I think it could have. I hadn't even considered that, but I think that would have basically made the entire game a lot better for me.
I
Yeah.
think I would have preferred that as well, because having it all dumped at the beginning, I think for me, it kind of set up the game with kind of a misleading context, because I don't know, we haven't gotten into like the rest of the story yet, but I kept trying to connect what was happening in the forest with the intro. Like I was convinced that there was some connection to be had there, and there really wasn't between the two stories.
Yeah.
I think if the pacing
Well,
was
yeah,
changed, though, that would make it more confusing. Honestly, I like the dump
maybe-
at the beginning, because the dump at the beginning is like, all right, here's what's going on, and then you kind of play the game, and as you go through, you kind of think about other things rather than the implication of getting the little bits and pieces of this backstory with his wife throughout the game, which I think you
Right, and I
guys
think
are
that
kind of
all
presenting.
I think all of that really just boils down to personal preference.
Yeah.
If you do like how it clarifies all these things at the very beginning, I don't think you're necessarily valuing the story less than another person would. It's just how you would prefer storytelling to be told. I think that I personally have always enjoyed gradual, more fluid storytelling as opposed to let's clarify everything in the beginning and then let's start off from this point. I don't know. That was just me. I don't know. I have so many mixed
Heavy
feelings
sigh.
about this game because I really genuinely enjoyed it, but there's always like these little tiny nitpicky things, or not even nitpicky, but just like these little things that can accumulate. And for me personally, I feel like we probably all have very similar criticisms of the game. It's just to varying degrees as to what we think about them.
Like how important we think they are.
Yeah, exactly, and whether how much they affected our opinion of it. I like at the end of the day, the primary features or the primary focus of this game is A, the story, or A, the writing, and B, I think the most important part was the performances. And
which were fucking awesome.
yeah, the performances
they
were
were.
so. The performances were so well done that it almost transcended a lot of the complaints that I had about the game, and I just can't help but just go like, yeah, no, I fucking loved it. Like, I don't care about all these other things because it was great,
Well, I also think the beginning, and I guess this can be a segue into like the next, I guess like problem that I had with the game. Probably, I think Jake has indicated close to it that he did too. I think the beginning would have worked more if the rest of the game had been paced a little more evenly. I thought the pacing of the game was really weird. Especially in the light of what you just said, Jake, of like where the point of the game is really that you have these two characters that are really well written and really well voice acted, and you see their relationship grow.
Yeah.
But if you were to look at just the pacing of the game, the pacing almost entirely ignores their relationship. Like the pacing goes along like the plot beats of the game.
Yes.
Not along how developed their relationship is.
Which I think was one of their bigger cardinal sins was it almost came off as if they were having like this internal, like, you know, the a writer was having like this internal clash as to how he wanted to tell the story, whether or not it was about the story or if it was about the characters. And I feel like they really should have played up to their strengths with the characters, and at times they did, and other times they didn't. It just came off as kind of inconsistent.
Yeah. Like there were just like really big jumps. Like I think there's like a day 6 to day 70 something jump or something like that, right? Like,
it's day 1, day 2, day 3, day what was it?
37 or something like that.
Yeah, it skips like 3 weeks or something.
Yeah. 34.
Like I had one video that was 20 minutes long, and it went from day 3 to day 64.
Yeah.
Whereas the previous 2 videos are 30 minutes long each, and it's day 1 and day 2. So, yeah, the pacing was a little odd, and it was more so just like, this is the beginning of the time in Firewatch, you know, from day 1 to day 2, and then here's the end from day like 76 to day 79 or whatever it was. And everything else is just kind of like, yeah, let's get through this.
Yeah, it felt like they were just trying to jump to the next plot point.
Where I felt as though that was the most important part.
I don't know. I felt like almost complemented the, like, it's only, the playthrough I watched was like 2.5 hours long, and it was a full playthrough. And I don't know, I felt like the chaotic kind of jumps, and it's like, okay, we're at day 30 now, okay, day 70. Like, I felt like it complemented the short gameplay. It kind of kept you on your toes. The same.
Well, too bad you're
wrong.
wrong.
Fuck you, bitch. I don't need your opinions. Anyways.
To quote.
Yeah, I mean, I look at it and I think, how else could they have done it? Like, seriously, if they wanted to keep it in this time window of, like, within 4 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
They almost are forced to skip over a lot of important time. And it's like, yeah, I mean, I want these things, but how can I reasonably expect them to do this without, you know, extending the game and therefore raising the price? And then other people would be complaining that it was paced poorly because it was too long.
Yeah, exactly.
And it felt drawn out.
I don't know if I buy that. I think that... Sorry, I just squeaked while opening a door. I think that they could have... Because I think the part of the pacing that bothered me was not necessarily they didn't, like, exactly follow the relationship, but it felt like you were missing bits of their relationship each time it jumped back in.
Yeah, certainly.
Like,
yeah.
I'm not disagreeing
kind
with
of
that.
got the feeling... I didn't. I got the feeling that, like, big swaths of, like, things had not happened, and I feel like they could have just, like, had little, like, moments of you sitting in your cabin talking to her, and that's the entire day. Not, like, doesn't last long, but it's just, like, little progressions in their relationship that you see.
But they did that.
Not
Not to the extent that you're talking about, though, right?
Yeah, and not for all of the beats. Like, not to a point where you feel like you're missing.
But isn't that
like,
just
I
a
think,
movie?
Like,
if you're just in a cabin talking about shit.
Alex, it sounds like you just want to watch a movie about Firewatch.
Well, movies aren't games, Jake. Letterboxes are bad. Fucking. Oh god, that totally. Oh no, yeah. Okay, I was about to bring up Soma. I think Soma's a game that does that really well.
I love
like,
Soma.
You're there with the character at
Game of the year.
every single jump of understanding. Like, if you look at the character and you as a player, really, at the beginning and the end of the game, who they are, but also, like, what you understand and what you know is so vastly different. Like, you're aware of just concepts at the end of the game that you would, like, philosophical concepts, not even game concepts, that you would never even, like, begun to think of at the beginning of this game.
Yeah. Can we stop talking about Soma? I'm gonna cry.
I know.
I'm gonna start crying.
And there was, like, never a point where you, like, got the sense of, like, oh, now here's the exposition dump. Like, it was really natural, and you're just kind of suddenly at this point where you're like, oh, now I know a lot of shit.
Yeah.
And it didn't, like, drag or take time. I think it could have been not like Soma. Obviously, there's a lot of differences.
Yeah.
And Ethan, I don't think you've ever played or seen Soma, so fuck you for this example.
Both of the endings from Firewatch and Soma left me feeling empty and alone. So
That's what's so good about it, though.
Yeah. No, like, well, that's another good segue. Thank you, Jake.
Huh?
I said that's another good segue.
What's a good
Thank
segue?
you, Jake. It's like it's.
Oh, you want to talk about the end now?
No, I was saying, like,
Okay,
a thing
yeah,
with
that's
two
a segue.
reels that, like, goes really well, like a really good segue.
All right, so
And the entire internet is upset. No, that is a good segue into the discussion about the ending,
Which I loved.
and I might put in the sting from the Young Frankenstein right there.
right, we talking about the
the
ending or
ending.
not? Stop teasing me. I'm gonna lose
No.
my goddamn mind.
Okay, everybody but Ethan, talk about
Fucking
the ending.
Christ. I'm going first. Anyways, I loved the ending. No one, I haven't met anyone, and maybe one of you guys actually like the ending. I haven't seen any videos. I haven't met anyone that liked the ending. I know Alex hated the ending, but I
feel the
fucking
same way.
loved it. I loved the ending.
The ending was my favorite part of the game.
Really?
I think John.
yeah.
I think John's going to be the only one on this call that
I'm the
disliked
only
it.
naysayer,
really?
it seems.
Wait, hold on. There's only
It's
one
almost like you're
person
very
who doesn't like
critical
the
of the
ending.
game. It's almost like you're incredibly critical of it.
Oh, never heard that one before.
Alex, the pun master. I'm sorry. He has to meet his pun quota. It's part of his contract.
Or
I
they arrest
understand.
me.
I respect that.
So wait, who liked the ending? I want to know.
Raise your hand. Raise your hand if you like the ending.
Yeah, everyone by show of hands.
Wow.
Well, okay. To clarify, like I like the ending, but I like the ending because I hated it. If that makes
Yes,
sense.
I agree.
Oh, okay.
Like by that I mean that I played the ending and throughout I was so badly hoping that I was going to be able to see Delilah by the end, just because it like created this anticipation, and like you really enjoy this character and you're like, yeah, I want to see her. But first of all, to let's get something out of the way. I don't feel like in any capacity that whatever character model they could have come up with was going to satisfy you and make you go, oh yeah, that's great. Like, just judging from, like, you never see a person in this game.
Yeah.
And I think that that's deliberate. So,
Helicopter guy.
Yeah, it kind of amplifies the feeling of solitude while you're out there, and like you said, it would have been disappointing, no matter what she looked like, because you have somebody
Exactly.
different in your head.
Yeah,
so I
everyone
understand why
has
they.
their own little image.
Is this the troll from Troll 2?
I understand why they never showed Delilah, but still, there's like a cynical part of me that's like, they just didn't want to make a model for her. They just didn't want to make another character model. They didn't have it in their budget or something.
They didn't want to make a
that's that.
single
I
character
legitimately
model.
believe that by when I say that I don't think that whatever they could have made would have satisfied you, I mean that. Like, I think that their budget was limited to a sense that whatever character model they could have made would have looked like blotchy and
Horrible,
shitty.
yeah.
And,
I bet they got like
something-
boobs down on the paper, and they're like, I don't know, man, I'm out of ideas. Fuck you, lunch break.
I mean, I think it's good that they didn't show her for the reasons that we just stated, but at the same time, I thought that the reason why they didn't show her was kind of shitty. Like, towards the end, where she's just like, I'm gonna go. And it's like, well, we've been talking the entire summer together.
Well, that's the thing,
I
though.
love
I
it.
think it's
Something of a
bullshit.
friendship,
I
and
think
you're not even
her,
gonna, like, wait up for
reason
me?
is bullshit.
Yeah.
And
I
that's
thought
what I
that
love
was
about it. I
kinda-
think that her
kinda shitty.
character, like, is making this up as a reason. Like, the Brian Goodwin thing definitely bums her out. But I think that her real reasoning behind it is that, like, throughout the game, she kind of gives off this persona of being incredibly impulsive and really incapable of sticking to any. Is John?
Technical difficulties,
Ooh.
please stand
Uh-oh.
by.
We dropped him.
We dropped him. Ethan, you dropped the ball.
Fuck it. Anyways, I'll
Straight
pick
up,
up
fuck
where we left.
So hold on.
Anyway, fuck Jake's comments.
Hey, everybody.
Okay.
Oh,
you're
hey.
back? Okay. Cool.
Hey, introducing Harshly Critical to the podcast.
Hi, everybody.
Hell,
I
welcome.
warned you guys about this.
Yeah, it's all good.
Okay.
Okay. So.
What was I like cut off in the middle of?
Yeah, Jake was ranting like a lunatic when we
Yeah.
were gone. It was really weird. I was gonna call the
Yeah,
police.
dude, I'm crying.
He was talking about cereal and like gun rights. I don't know, dude.
Oh wow, those are
so-
relevant topics.
It was getting weird, yeah.
No, but okay. So basically, what I was saying about Delilah was that, like, she gives off this persona that's very impulsive, and I just got the impression that she's not very good at commitment. She kind of clarified that with what was the dude's name? The
Oh shit,
there
the
was some-
boyfriend.
Oh, like
Yeah,
huevos or-
huevo.
your-
Huevos.
she can't,
That's it.
she can't commit to eggs.
She can't.
She
Okay,
didn't
but yeah,
have the
no.
balls.
My exotic boyfriend huevos rancheros.
But yeah, so like when I hear these things, I think to myself, okay, so this girl, like, evidently is somewhat of an alcoholic, or if not an alcoholic, she at least irresponsibly drinks, because she probably shouldn't be doing that with the job she has, and all these different things. I'm not in any way surprised that she doesn't want to see this dude by the end of it. Like, I feel as though that fits her character well. She wants to have fun and all of that, but she doesn't want to stick to
Right.
a commitment of any sort.
Right. Yeah.
And I get why somebody wouldn't like that. I totally understand, but for what the writers were trying to do, I feel like it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Now, if you don't like what the writers were going for, that's fine, but I think that that's just you disagreeing with their
I felt like
artistic
it fit
decision.
with the narrative really well, in the theming and just the way the game was going. Like, I mean, I knew that you didn't meet her. Well, actually, I didn't know that. I knew that someone had mentioned that she rejects you. And that's all I was going on. And so when I was watching the game, I'm like, there's no way you're going to see this person. There's no, like, 2 hours into the game, I was like, yeah, no, you're not going to meet her. There's just no way. And
I was pretty certain of that, too, myself.
Yeah, me too.
But it was a good feeling, though, because, like, video games oftentimes just do what you think they're going to do. Even when they throw you, you know...
Like, they're doing it to appease you.
Yeah, exactly. Like, this is what you want. And it's like they didn't give me what I wanted, and that's exactly what I wanted.
Well, circles upon circles.
Well, to clarify, I remember, I don't know if any of you guys, aside from Alex, because I've talked his ear off about these guys, I don't know if any of you have heard about Kinda Funny.
I have not.
Oh yeah.
It has like Greg Miller and Colin Moriarty, a bunch of guys from IGN, and they were interviewing the writer for Firewatch, and the way he made it sound was that he was writing this story from the context of, I'm going to let the characters lead the story, whereas most of the time it's the story leading the characters.
Yeah.
And but it was almost as if, like, I'm going to write out these really incredibly well fleshed out characters, and I'm going to put them in the situation, and I'm going to have them react however I think that they would react.
And then fuck your desires.
Yeah, and so he said by the end of it, he was like, the only he almost felt like he wrote himself into a corner, and you could say that's potentially bad writing. I disagree to an extent, but I can understand why somebody would say that. But essentially what he was saying was that he felt as though there's nothing else that would have made sense. He had to write Delilah as leaving because anything else would have been just wouldn't have been in her character.
Yeah, no. What really stuck out to me from that interview was he was just talking about, like, because he said, according to him, he tried to write the scene a couple of times. Like, he was like, I tried to write, I just couldn't make it work without it feeling really stupid and cheesy and, like, just not fitting the character at all.
Like, what are they gonna do? Kiss? Or are they gonna make out or something? Like, let's have sex right inside of this building.
Good a David Cage style, like, awkward sex scene.
Oh God!
Wait! Which game is it? It's not Heavy Rain. What is
Indigo
it?
Prophecy.
Indigo Prophecy. Yeah, where they have, like, a for no reason
like,
awkward.
first of all, she's fucking a dead guy.
Oh yeah, he is dead.
Second of all, she's in love with him after having met him like 10 minutes ago.
And also, similar to that game, you don't want to see, like, two polygons having sex. Like,
Yes.
two just, like, cubes ramming into each other is basically what that game is. Like,
Yeah.
and I feel like that's what Firewatch would have been if you'd, like, kind of like we said before, but, like, if you'd seen her, it's like, oh, wow, you're, like, a circle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's all they had
She's
the
an
money
idea.
for.
That's all she is within, the
I
narrative of the
apologize.
story.
John, have you played Indigo Prophecy, right?
I have not actually.
Oh, oops, sorry.
It's okay. I'm gonna forget. It's fine.
Okay. Well, yeah. So,
Like, I'm
we
gonna
only
be playing
spoil-
and be like, at one point she fucks a dead guy. Like, I'm gonna forget about it.
We only spoiled the shitty part of the game, so it's fine.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, anyway, so yeah, so Firewatch in that respect to the ending, there's other parts about the ending that I'm pretty sure John has issues with. But for that particular part with Delilah, I personally liked it. I feel like Ethan, you said you liked it,
Yes.
so. Now getting to the other part, the other issue that a lot of other people are having a problem with. What were you gonna say, Alex?
I was gonna just say that, like, kind of in line with what Ethan was saying as well. Like, the reason I thought that it was good was because it, like, sets up this expectation of, like, oh, you want this? Well, you can't have it. And you mentioned it earlier, Jake, too, where, like, it just makes you feel really, like, upset.
The important thing, though, is that it didn't take that away
It makes you feel
from
like
you.
he feels, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It makes you feel like Henry feels.
Exactly. It doesn't take it away from you in, like, a big video gamey fashion. It's not like she died in the fire or a fucking helicopter accident or some shit like that you'd see in any other game. It's in this very real world kind of, I don't know if I want to see you. Yeah.
And it just doesn't work
Oh,
out.
it's
because,
so beautifully
why
human.
would a good thing
That's
happen?
the thing. It's
you know?
so beautifully human and fucked up, and, like, it happens, and you're just like, you feel it. You really do, because it's so shitty, and it's such a shitty ending, and you just feel shitty, and then you're like, oh, I see now. That's why I loved it so much.
Yeah. And one last thing on that is that I felt as though with at least with my playthrough, what I was doing with Henry's character was that he was trying his best to move on throughout. Like the whole purpose of him doing this whole job was that he lost his wife. She's in Australia now. He clearly can't handle taking care of her. She doesn't even remember who the fuck he is anymore. So the whole point of it was that he's trying to move on. He's doing everything he can to move on. And he meets this girl, other than that, he's not ready to move on. I feel like was another thing, because it's only been like a month or whatever. And so he meets this woman who is in a lot of ways very similar, at least from the way they described Julia, was that she gave him a lot of shit all the time. She would make fun of him and call him names and stuff. And she was just very snarky, and that's pretty much identical to what Delilah was.
Yeah, that's something I picked up as like a major theme, is that like they were kind of one and the same, and so like the loss,
very similar people.
Yeah, the loss of one is basically the loss of the other.
Right, and so he's finally feeling like he's getting over this one woman, and he's finally moving on to Delilah, and he feels like there's something there, and then she fucking leaves, and he's just alone.
And then the game's over and you're alone.
Yes!
And then no one will ever love
you. And a kid's dead in the fucking cave.
Yeah.
And then your soul is dead for the rest of your life.
And you just want to kill yourself.
And his dad's just out roaming the wilderness, making fake scientific laboratories and shit like that.
Yeah.
Listening
Oh,
in
yeah,
on
that's
people.
I was like, okay, I was thinking, like, what's the other part of the ending that people don't like? Duh.
Yeah, so,
Oh, yeah.
It's
John,
that one.
feel free, because I know that you have some issues.
That whole wonderful, quote, twist. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I kind of feel the same way about Firewatch as I do about Lost. I don't know if you guys have seen Lost.
I have not.
Fair.
We're like, okay, to me, the build-up, everything building up, it's like, oh man, there's something going on. There's somebody out here, that wants to mess with us and all that stuff. It seemed to be hinting at something a little bigger than what it turned out to be.
This is
and
a
that was
wonderful
my
part, though, in my opinion.
No, I disagree, though.
No, not allowed.
I did not find it wonderful.
This is the Agreement Podcast and the Agreement Podcast only.
Oh, I agree.
No, well, because I kind of look at it in a similar way, not to steal the line from you, Ethan, but I'm totally going to steal the line
Also,
from you.
I disagree with Ethan, too.
Fuck you, all of you.
Fuckface.
I look at it a similar way as I look at how the first thing that we were just talking about with the ending, where she's not there, is where it's like, it leads you to believe, like, just like in that situation, it leads you to believe this like relationship was happening and it just kind of falls apart. In this one, it leads you to believe like, hey, there's this big thing going on and you're part of some big video gaming adventure and like, whoa, things are happening. And then you hit the end of the game and the game is like, no, fuck you. Why would that ever happen?
Yeah, exactly.
That's ridiculous.
But it's so...
The first...
Sorry, you can go.
The first red flag for me was when Delilah came over the radio and was like, oh yeah, so those two girls, they're fine, actually.
Yes.
I was like, well,
Yeah,
that's
that was
convenient.
So fucking much.
Yeah, I was
Okay,
just
that
like, are you
was-
serious? That's it? That's it for that entire...
I can actually
like,
agree with that.
Yeah, I'll agree with that too.
There was
like,
no
what was the
point.
point?
There was no
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
Well, okay,
was
so
just-
and that actually brings me into something. This entire game, up into the ending, like everything felt like a big fucking red herring. Like it was just
Yes.
red herring
Yeah.
the game. You have
Yeah.
okay. So for one, you have the bullshit with like thinking that potentially Henry is going insane, and maybe maybe Delilah doesn't even, or maybe Delilah doesn't even exist. Maybe Julia doesn't even exist. Maybe he's the one that has like this weird sort of dementia thing, and he's not even there
That's-
for a Firewatch or whatever the hell. Like that's a theory I heard about.
I had the
There's
same
also-
theories, yeah.
Yeah, there was also like the government idea that like the government is like monitoring you two people as like this big experiment. Furthermore, I actually saw Swingpoint, who's another YouTuber who did a playthrough of Firewatch. And I saw on his Twitter he looked up the name of Delilah, and I thought this was actually kind of funny that like the name of Delilah like in Hebrew actually means temptress, which I thought was kind of interesting. It's like everything seems to be like building up this false notion that you're being set up, and it's like it's cool to an extent. I actually like it kind of doing a reversal there, but to the point that they did it, where it's like they go way down the rabbit hole, like having like this big camp set up behind Wapiti Meadow or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And it was just like, okay,
With the fence, like what? Like he
Yes.
constructed that fence? What?
No.
Yeah.
Actually,
No, I've been
that's not
thinking about
true.
that too.
That's not true. I actually heard about what the reason why that fence was there. The fence was actually put up. If like I think if you like go off veering, like very few people found this, but if you go off the beaten path, you'll find that there was like actually there's a study something to do with like deer or something like that, and that's why they had set up this fence. And
Yeah, they were monitoring deers or elks
yeah,
or something.
and all that equipment that you found for the most part isn't anything that what's the guy's name? The dad, fucking
I can't remember.
something Goodwin, Ned
character
Goodwin.
one.
Yes.
Yeah, Ned.
So
Steven.
all of that stuff, almost none of it had anything to do with Ned except for the papers that he forged with his typewriter. He just
Right,
basically
yeah.
broke in there, put that shit in there, and left. That's really all he has to do with it. So really, Henry stole government equipment. That's what he did.
Yeah.
The true ending of the game is that he goes to federal prison for life.
Because we don't tolerate treason.
Yeah, so really, Ned didn't put a lot of effort into his attempt to kind of veer you away from everything. He really just had a radio that he would monitor your conversations with, which isn't that difficult to do considering, if he can just figure out the wavelengths and all of that, and not too crazy to imagine since he was in the military and all of that. Maybe he worked with radios. And then also he had a typewriter, and so he would type shit out. That's really all he did, and then everything else is just really complicated and a little bit over the top, and it's just... I get what they were trying to do.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I will agree that they went a little overboard with the setup. But I like the general theme.
Me too.
Of just like all this shit's going down and the game's like, ooh, what is it? And you have all these like Jake, when you were playing, I remember you were like rabidly like, Delilah's in on it, guys. Dude,
Yeah.
it's fucking Delilah. You were like,
Yeah, no, I thought
sitting
Delilah,
alone in your room, like, oh god, it's Delilah. She's watching me.
Yeah, well, I had remembered that Delilah had like been on that call with somebody else or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought that was like, okay, so this is like some sort of Truman Show shit where like Delilah is like on the inside, but she's the one that's trying to pull me in, and she's convincing me that she's also being experimented on. But that's bullshit. I know you're in
Right.
on it, Delilah.
Right,
And
right.
so yeah, I mean, like it really makes you paranoid. But I feel as though with the storyline that Firewatch was doing, and this is weird because I actually enjoyed Firewatch more than this game, but I felt as though Gone Home actually did this sort of setup way better. In the sense that, like, at least almost everybody, like, one of my more popular videos is Gone Home ending, and everybody was like, I thought this was going to be about some, we were going to find this sister, killing
Right.
herself,
Yes,
that she was
yeah.
going to be hanging herself, and this was going to be a horror game, and it's just about, lesbians or whatever. So, I felt as though that game really executed on what it was going for way better than Firewatch was in terms of the setup. I still somehow loved Firewatch way more.
I think
I don't know.
I think some of that had to do with the setting, because in Gone Home you're just in like a regular house.
Yes.
It's actually your home, and I mean, yeah, there are secret passages and stuff. But in Firewatch, you're out in the fucking wilderness in an unfamiliar place, and there's all this stuff going down, and there's
Makes it a lot less relative.
yeah, it's just like, oh, exotic and mysterious things could happen here, type of thing.
Well, I just like the theme of like exotic things could happen here, but at the end of the day, it's just like real life and like real
Yeah,
people
it's-
like doing real things, just being sad.
I love the whole
Around a forest.
ending because it's just like it's such normal human paranoia trying to think that some government is looking after you because you're so fucking important, but you're just a dude in a forest, and you
like you-
listen to that fucking videotape, and it's like, yeah,
Like, really,
that's what would
at
happen.
the end of the day, you don't matter. Like,
It's true.
Why the
Here's-
fuck would they be monitoring you? What makes you so special?
Yeah, exactly.
So you
There's
paid
two
$20
kind of
for this game. Who
important-
cares? You're just in a normal story.
yourself. Like, you don't deserve being spied on. Like,
Yeah, you self-important little
Be the
bitch.
fucking hero. You don't get the girl. Do you get the girl in real life, bitch? Nah, not here either.
Now you just sit alone in the woods and cry.
yep.
So I like the theming, and I think the two themings kind of work with each other, right? Like, I feel like the impact of Delilah not being there and the relationship ending how it did in the end would not have been as strong if there was some conspiracy, and vice versa. And
Yeah, it would have
so
just felt a lot more video gamey.
But I do agree that I like Jake said, Gone Home's like one of my top like 3 favorite video games of all time, and like they do it a lot better. Where it's the difference between the game telling you, hey, be paranoid, yo, dude, really though, be really paranoid.
Step
and then it
into
kinda
this
gets,
emotion
like,
booth, please.
yeah, it kind of gets like a little annoying.
Yeah.
Whereas Gone Home, it's like, here's the house, and you do what you want. Like you figure, oh, you think there's a ghost? Well, I'm not gonna, whatever. Like the game is very hands off.
Yeah.
With it's clearly just like you doing you.
Yeah,
But
that's
I think the reason that it works less well in this game is because the game is clearly trying so hard to get you to believe that something's going to happen, to the point that eventually, I think before the twist end, everybody comes to the realization that they're like, I think probably around the time where you find out the girls are safe, where it's just like, which may be the point the game jumps the shark a tad, where it's just like, oh, so we're just like putting all these paranoia things in here and there's not actually going to be an ending. I think there's like, at least for me, there was definitely a moment where I was like, no, there's not going to be anything. I think it was while Jake was still saying it was a government conspiracy. I just had the moment of like, oh no, there's going to be it's just going to be like something.
Jake, I'm wondering if you had the same theory that I had about halfway through after the dream sequence call, which was that Delilah was actually Julia, and this was a whole like government setup so that they could observe how you react to someone who is actually your wife but not your wife.
No, that's fucking stupid.
We'll find out.
I thought that the government experiment thing, that was definitely where I thought I was going, and quite frankly, that theory is way more fleshed out and interesting than what I thought was they're just curious.
They're just nosy. That's all.
The government's just we got so much extra money. Just, let's watch this guy.
Might as well just watch this guy.
Let's also just burn this entire forest because fuck it.
Yeah. How's it going to react when we set fire to our research facility?
If we put them in like direct danger,
yeah,
and almost kill them.
How about if we send them
What
weird
happens?
notes like "LOL, fuck you, dude"?
let's go kidnap these girls.
How about we kill a child
we
and
kill
throw him in a cave?
Well, no, what if the true ending is that it really was just like a 3 layers deep government conspiracy all along?
Yeah, so
That would be good.
Also, speaking of Gone Home, though, like I feel as though that's one of the closest comparisons this game can get for a multitude of reasons. Like obviously the storytelling, but also the setting itself. Just I felt so like, I don't know, not even nostalgic because I have nothing to do with the 80s, but like just with Gone Home, I had a lot of nostalgia feelings just because I remembered like little things from my childhood.
Is it 90s?
Yeah, no, it was based in the 90s.
Okay.
Yeah, so, and like, funny enough, actually, the same composer for Gone Home did Firewatch, which I thought was really interesting.
Oh, that's really cool.
I'm in no way surprised by that. There was a lot of like synthy sort of sounds to it.
I'm not
stuff.
surprised once you said it. I just hadn't thought about it.
I fucking love synth.
Yeah, no, they're very similar games, both in how they do things, which is just kind of like this setup and false expectation, and also in theming, where there's a lot of like, this is how relationships work, this is how like the tension that people have with each other, like these are how like real lives go kind of thing.
Real life's go.
Real life's go. That's gonna be the name of this podcast. Firewatch spoiler cast. Real life's go.
That's a bad name.
What for you guys, what
someone
was
said
the
it.
moment when like the false expectation was at its peak? Like when you were most convinced that something dank was going down.
Oh, I know, like, because I remember, like, it was in
dankest.
transition from one day to the next, and I looked straight at the camera, and I was like, she knows.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
I said that flat out, like, I look back and I cringe so hard, because like, oh, you fucking douche.
Yeah. No, for me it was when right before you go, when you're, I don't know why it was this moment, when you're going in those fields to the south, I don't remember what they were called.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you find that like the fire crew stuff, you find that axe, and there's just like a tension to that. Like I think it's because that's the only area that's like a big open field, and you're just walking through it, and I'm like, there's no reason this field would be this big. Why'd they make this field this big? Something's gonna happen in this field because it's big.
You feel like you're being watched the entire time. Like
That was so brilliant. Like the setting that they had in that area, where it's like this giant open field, was the perfect place for it. Because like you have no idea. I mean, like they could be looking at you from anywhere.
Yeah,
and that
exactly.
was like, oh, I had chills during that moment.
So that was the moment where I was like, shit's happening, things are happening, we're gonna die. I'm gonna, like, me as a person, not the character Jake is playing, I'm gonna die.
Yeah, no, by completely unrelated circumstances.
Yeah, it's gonna be tragic and it's gonna be in a field. And like so that was probably the moment for me that I was like, shit's happening. And then I just kind of spiraled down from there a little bit.
Right. Yeah, right after the moment where she's like, oh, you're back in your tower. And you're like, no, I'm not. That whole sequence,
Oh,
when you find the little alarm clock.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh god.
That did it for me for sure.
Yeah. Also, like, one thing that also I will admit, did bother me at the ending is like the motivation of that guy. Like, why did he do that?
Ned?
Yeah.
It was to
like,
blackmail you, right? like so he could get like shit on you, like you set the fire, you did all this, so now you can't tell anybody that I'm the one who first discovered my kid, right?
I guess that makes sense.
That maybe. I also thought there was a possibility that Ned himself was like trying to set up the red herring where it was like this is a government conspiracy sort of thing. Like maybe he was hearing you guys theorizing about this over the radio and it's just like, okay, I'm going to feed into this shit. And so I'm going to So, and maybe he was like typing the things out on his little typewriter and then putting them in that little thing behind the gate. I mean, there's a couple different things, but I think the main essence of it was just don't let them find out about Brian. And then, like a dumbass, he's like, yeah, I'll go ahead and get him inside the cave.
Yeah. What? Yeah. I don't know.
Well, I thought what he was trying to do is he wanted you to find Brian's body so you could report it, but he didn't want to be in any way responsible. He just wanted to kind of disappear.
I think he was trying to kill you. Like, he was trying to he locked you inside the cave, right? So
right, but I thought that was so you would have no choice but to go out the way, that you would find Brian's body on the way there.
Maybe.
Or so that you could discover his camp, get the little hooky things or whatever, and then go back and find his body.
I was always under the impression that he didn't know that there was a secondary exit, and so you would just starve to death in there. That was my thought process.
See, and
to continue the murdering spree.
There's a lot of ambiguity behind it all, though.
Yeah,
so I can't be certain.
See, maybe that's intentional. But at the same time, it's kind of similar to what I said before. It kind of feels cheap. Like, it feels like they're just, like, having all these things that are, like, kind of conveniently wrapped up in this other way you didn't expect, but not, like, fully. Like, the fact that all four of us are kind of having different, like, wait, but why did... And then, like, it... Clearly, that's either a problem or they did it intentionally. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I personally didn't
it seems as though the writer was or from what I was seeing in the interview, was that like he is very interested in the various different interpretations of his story.
Yeah.
And so it very well could have been that. I don't know. Like, I feel as though there's a possibility I could be giving the guy too much credit or not enough. I have no fucking idea. I just like the game. That's all I know.
And that is good writing when you can't tell how much was intentional and how much you're just reading into it yourself.
Or it's bad writing.
Or it's terrible.
But I also think the one last thing that I personally thought was very well done about the game, because everyone's praising the writing, but I think people are forgetting a little bit that not everybody had the same lines, and that it's really hard to like think about how hard it has to be to write a coherent story no matter how you play the game. Like, he doesn't have full control over how your story goes or how anybody's story goes. So he's got to write in a way that no matter what you do, it feels consistent without having full artistic control over it. So the fact that the end result was as consistent, at least dialogue and like delivery wise, as it was, is like really amazing. Like, think about the like difficult, because we only experienced it as one line, but think of the difficulty as like of being aware of all like 50 different lines that every dialogue could go and keeping it all like, nobody is like, oh no, in my playthrough the writing was really bad. Like, nobody is saying that. Ever.
Mm-hmm. There are people who are saying it's a bad game because it has no gameplay.
Oh, God.
Upset. Oh yeah, I didn't.
Have you
shoot
seen the
a
IGN
single
comments?
alien.
There's no guns.
I looked at the review on IGN and just like everybody's just ripping the shit out of the game.
Why'd you do that? Why'd you do that to yourself?
Because I'm an asshole.
You deserve better.
It's just a bunch of people who don't play indie games, if you ask me. They expect to get like 60 hours out of every game they play to have multiplayer, online multiplayer, and all that stuff.
Well, I compare it to
Firewatch online multiplayer.
Yeah.
Play
like,
as
what?
Delilah.
So everyone can be disappointed at once together.
It's all the
in
same people
party
that were
chat.
disappointed and gone home for the same reason.
Yes.
Yeah, Gone Home actually, come to think of it, Gone Home caused a very similar kind of splitting when it came out too.
Mm-hmm. Well, it also caused a lot of people who hate gay people to really complain.
God.
I know from experience just from my playthrough.
Yeah.
Oh man, I bet some of those people are still complaining on Firewatch, even though it's literally nothing to do with gay people. Man, this game sucks, and also I don't like gay people.
But yeah, so fuck, what was I gonna say? I don't remember. Never mind.
Something about gay people, probably.
Something about gay people.
I have no idea. Well, okay, I remember. So I might get a little bit of shit of this, or shit about this. But I remember, like, when I was reading through a lot of these comments, it felt like a lot of like idiots who, like, a lot of the stupid people who.
Just like the stupidest people currently alive today, all congregated in the same.
A lot of the
section.
people who are like fans of Jim Sterling and Total Biscuit and guys like that, but don't really get what they're saying, and they just like Well, we actually, Alex, you and I were talking about this yesterday. What was it like? They were ignoring the framework and just looking at the results.
Yeah, ignoring the only looking at like the end result and not looking at like how they got there.
Yeah, no, I totally fucking agree with that. Especially with like some of the reviews I watched. It's people are like, yeah, the ending ruined the entire game for me, and I'm like, no, fuck that. You played a great game up until the ending, in which you had a personal preference that you didn't like, and somehow that ruined the game for you. Someone gave it a 5 out of 10, even though they gave the first 2/3 a 9 out of 10. And I'm like, are you fucking dumb?
God, that ending must have been in the negatives.
Yeah, no, seriously.
I give it a negative 3 of 10.
I mean, I'm probably more down on the math works than anyone here, but that's bullshit.
Which is fair.
That's bullshit. Well, that's the thing. That's just a bullshit opinion to have.
Yeah, exactly.
I know we were joking about this earlier, but like, you're possible? Just wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the thing about the like all of those types of people is that just my perception is that they hear like, okay, Jim Sterling didn't like or Total Biscuit didn't like Dear Esther, and the reason why is because it had no gameplay and it was just quote unquote walking simulator, which I'm pretty sure where that sort of originated was thanks to the Chinese room. And at the same time, these same people a lot of the time will like go on to say Amnesia Dark Descent's fucking amazing, despite the fact that like in essence, even though there's more gameplay in a game like Amnesia Dark Descent or Machine for Pigs, it still in essence is very simplistic. And if you're gonna go by like this all out sort of mentality of it has no gameplay, all you do is just walk around. It's like, okay, well, in a game like Amnesia, which is considered a horror masterpiece, all you do is walk around and combine things and put them on stuff.
But there are puzzles.
And also, people forget that there's two levels of gameplay. Like there's what you are physically capable of doing with your controller, right? So it's either like you shoot
your input,
yeah. So you can shoot or you can touch things or whatever. And then there's the second level of, okay, what does that input let you do? So like people were comparing Gone Home and Dear Esther constantly, and I was like, have you played Gone Home? Like, it's like, yes, you can't only pick things up and turn them around, but Gone Home is effectively a puzzle game.
Yeah.
Like, you play it as if it's a puzzle game. Like, you figure out a mystery. The game's not holding your hand. Like, you have to, like, find things, figure it out yourself, put clues together. It's not an especially hard puzzle game, but in the way it plays, it's effectively a puzzle game, and I feel like people ignore anything beyond the first level of input. Like, I can only crouch and pick things up in this game. Walking sim.
Well, everybody
walking sim.
People label a ton of great games walking simulators, even though they're nothing close to the genre. I mean, like, I think Dear Esther is without a doubt a walking simulator because that's literally all you do.
Yeah.
But with a lot of these other games like Gone Home and Firewatch, I mean, there are notes to read. There are doors to open.
Well, yeah, I mean, in essence, like Halo's just a shooting simulator. I mean, all you do is hold down a trigger the whole time. You're just holding down a trigger and then not holding it down.
You don't even aim that often.
You can't even craft anything.
I mean, it's kind of like a puzzle game. It's a puzzle game. You put the bullet in the head, and there you go. You solve the puzzle.
I mean, yeah, and like it's.
Like, if we want to get really fucking analytical about this stuff, like, every game is incredibly simplistic when you break it down. So, it just seems like it's just overly sensitive about... fuck it, just...
Yeah, I mean...
Jake just goes home, cries.
I mean, turn-based RPGs are basically just, like, math simulators,
And it's like, and it's also, I think it's bullshit that walking simulator is used as, like, a pejorative. Like, it's just, like, instantly a bad thing.
Total bullshit.
Like, you can make a good game like that. Like, a game can be bad and that, or good and that. That's just like that'd be like someone going up and be like, action movies are bad. And you're like, well, what about all these great action movies? It's like, no, it's an action movie, it's bad. And it's like, no one would ever say that. No one would ever let anyone, anybody would be like, that's bullshit. There are some good action movies.
It's like using Call of Duty Ghosts as like a reference point for all first-person shooters. Like, because Ghosts was shit, that means like Wolfenstein: The New Order was shit. Does that mean
Half-Life 2 is terrible?
Yeah.
I'm
just kidding. Like, people got pissed off at me because I was kind of mad on Half-Life 2, but that's a whole different topic.
Yeah, every game exists in its own context. Like, it exists in the context of its genre, of what it's trying to do. As like, you can't judge an action movie by like, oh, there wasn't any romance. Like, there wasn't like a rom-com plot.
The genre doesn't define the game.
Yeah.
Like, you have to approach a game on its own terms. Like, you can't... You can't look at it like Firewatch and be like, oh, the shooting mechanics were terrible. There weren't any. And it's like, well, yes, you're not wrong.
0 to 10 for first-person
Yeah,
shooter.
like if we're judging it on that basis, yeah, but you have to approach the game on its own terms.
I think for a lot of those people, though, like, video games equal first-person shooters.
That's true. That's very
Yeah.
true. You know, like the original first-person shooter, Pong.
Right,
Wait,
yeah.
what the fuck is like this mentality of like that's not a game? Like, who
Oh
the
my
fuck
God.
are you? Who the fuck are you?
Yeah, who
are you
defined
to
that?
clarify to qualify what a game is?
Yeah, no, that's...
Have you guys played Unravel yet?
I haven't.
I want to very badly, but I haven't had time.
I think it's great, but it's a puzzle platformer. I actually got a comment on one of the videos saying, like, this isn't really a game, more like an interactive cartoon. I was like, it's a fucking platformer. Have you played Super Mario Brothers?
Yeah,
Well,
also,
I mean,
like,
if you want to break it down like that, every game's an interactive cartoon.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, and it's also like, yeah, if that's
it's
not a
true.
game, please
it's more
define
like a
your
screen
terms.
in which occasionally you can press buttons and do
Yeah.
things. Yeah.
I'm not sure
really,
if I buy
like
the whole
movies
video
are really
game
just
thing.
interactive life. You're like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Or video games without controls.
Oh my god.
Anyway,
0 to 10, no shooting.
well, yeah. So, I want to play Unravel, but I've been really busy with The Witcher 3, which I got
Ooh.
back into because people got
Nice.
pissed at me for not having that in my top 5 games.
How dare you?
So,
Yeah.
and honestly,
Your
it would take my
opinion's
top 5
different.
now. I'm not gonna lie.
Ooh, really?
It would switch out with Fallout 4.
I actually haven't played Witcher 3
Hard
yet.
words.
Fan service.
It's good.
I have it in my Steam library, but I just haven't had the time to like.
It's a lot of
you know.
time. Dude,
Yeah, exactly.
If you don't have a spare 150 hours, don't.
Just lay it
My
around.
life. Yeah. Okay, well, that is what Ethan Mead, Alex of GameWorx, the offensive Jake, and harshly critical think of, I don't know, people on the internet. And also Firewatch.
And also Firewatch, sort of. Yeah.
Also Fire.
A little bit of Firewatch.
A little bit, yeah, a tad of Firewatch at the beginning. All right. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Do you guys have anything else to say about the game?
I think we pretty much covered it.
Yeah, I think we got.
Yeah.
I think we got all the big
It had
points.
beautiful colors.
That's true. Oh yeah, art design was
Yeah.
fucking on
Oh
point.
yeah, on point.
All the like aesthetic design was on point as shit. All right. Thank you guys for listening. Like if you like to like things, please subscribe. Check out these guys and everybody on the screen right here, and I'll see you guys next time.
Yeah, no ammo, which I think is a cool. I think it's a cool addition.
Good, but it's interesting. I would
But it's
never have
also
called that.
kind.
Yeah, I mean, it just really we're just aiming for really smooth, fun to use flight controls that can get you anywhere in the world.